been debated for years whether or not school uniforms benefit schools by lowering violence and crime and improving academia. According to an article on the Constitutional Rights Foundation website, every year 3 million young people in the United States fall victim to crimes at school. As parents, we want our children to be safe and cared for while they're at school. But with violence and bullying within schools on the rise, how can we ensure the safety of our children once they step into the classroom? Let's take a look at why school uniforms may be helpful in decreasing violence and disciplinary problems while improving student academia if implemented in school systems across the U.S. Research suggests that the use of school uniforms help to create a safer and more constructive learning environment by increasing academia and decreasing violence in schools. In an article on the Constitutional Rights Foundation website, a recent study by the U.S. Department of Education suggests that uniforms can help reduce theft, violence, and the negative effects of peer pressure caused when some students come to school wearing designer clothing and expensive sneakers. In President Clinton's 1996 State of the Union address, he mentioned the benefits of school uniforms. He said, "I challenge all our schools to teach character education, to teach good values and good citizenship, and if it means that teenagers will stop killing each other over designer jackets, then our public schools should be able to require their students to wear school uniforms." An article published in Psychology Today suggests that statistics now show that school uniforms actually reduce crime. As you can see in this pie chart, the statistical data obtained from this article shows the effects of uniforms when implemented in schools. After mandating uniforms, schools in Long Beach, California reported that crime dropped by 91%, suspensions decreased by 90%, sexual offenses dropped a whopping 96%, and vandalism went down 69%. According to Arnold Goldstein, head of the Center for Research on Aggression at Syracuse University, uniforms promote a sense of community, whereby helping students to feel a sense of belonging. It has also been shown that school uniforms may reduce disciplinary problems and produce an increase in student academia and concentration. An article entitled "School Uniforms Might Help Attendance" referenced a study done on 6 Ohio City schools, showing that students who were required to wear uniforms had improved graduation, behavior, and attendance rates. Virginia Dre, a researcher at Youngstown State University, concluded that uniforms by themselves do not improve test scores, but they do help with discipline and attendance in school. According to Dre's research, graduation rates rose 11% at schools that required uniforms, and non-uniform schools had a decrease in graduation rates of 4.6%. Student uniforms have also been shown to increase student concentration in the classroom. According to an article on Bustle.com, statistics show that 44% of parents have found their children to be more focused on school when wearing uniforms. Russell Eppinger, the author of School Uniforms, Does What Students Wear Really Make a Difference?, states that schools have become a stage for the latest fashion parade, deflecting away the attention from learning and achieving educational goals. When students wear uniforms, they are less likely to be tardy as often from being indecisive about what to wear. According to Eppinger, students are less distracted by clothing options and what their peers are wearing, allowing them to focus more on their schoolwork. These simple measures may be the steps necessary to curbing student violence and improving student academia and concentration. Research clearly shows that school uniforms help to reduce violence and crimes in schools, while improving student concentration and academia. So in conclusion, as violence in schools becomes more and more of a concern across the country, many educators and parents alike are searching for ways to improve the safety and learning environment of our children. This leaves us with the million-dollar question. Are school uniforms the answer to school violence? Are there any questions?
You talk about students having a sense of belonging when wearing uniforms. What happens if a student is unable to afford uniforms? Is the student then forced to be an outsider because he or she can't afford uniforms?
That's a very good question, and thank you for addressing this. Many people tend to think of school uniforms as being costly. However, if you think about it, how expensive are designer clothes and shoes? According to Russell Eppinger in his article on school uniforms, uniforms can generally be purchased at roughly 1/3 the cost of most clothing purchased in department stores. Typically, 3 school uniforms can be purchased for under $100. Are there any other questions?
Wouldn't mandated uniforms cause school officials and students alike to be unable to identify someone that is likely to be violent?
Not necessarily. According to Eppinger, by having students wear a uniform, intruders that could possibly pose a threat to students could easily be spotted. While it is true that no one can know for certain who's violent and who's not, or who may become violent, the use of school uniforms would help distinguish those who are allowed on school grounds from those who aren't. They would also deter gang members from sporting gang-type clothing, which encourages the act of violence in schools. Thank you.